What's going on, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtry back with you guys here on the Alabama Football Report. We just finished up our live Alabama versus Eastern Illinois watch party. Crimson Tide winning today on Senior Day, 56-0 in a game that the defense went absolutely crazy. They played like 5 quarterbacks in this game. It was a great week overall for Alabama, but let's be honest, it was against Eastern Illinois. Don't want to get too hyped up about this win because it is officially Auburn hate week, and you have to beat Auburn if you want a chance to make it to the SEC championship game, and you have to beat Auburn if you want an opportunity to make the college football playoffs. So type your F Auburns down inside the comment section. We're going to do some takeaways here in just a little bit, but there have been some rumors circulating around, Tuscaloosa the other day. I wanted to get to this just because, look, this game wasn't that good, and this is a big-time topic going around college football right now. Penn State beat writer John Sauber was on Ryan Fowler's radio show the other day, the game, basically saying that Kalen DeBoer is Penn State's top option, their top head coaching candidate, and we'll get into the comments. We'll get into, my opinions on that. And then we'll also get into as well what Chris Lowe had to say about this rumor, report, whatever you want to call it here. But this is what John Sauber said on Ryan Fowler's radio show the other day. Said he's been one of Penn State's top targets from the beginning. I think it was early on a little bit of pie in the sky, of course. Alabama's close game with South Carolina. There was a chance it could have picked up there, and it didn't. And then the loss to Oklahoma, nudged the door open a little bit. I still think Alabama would have to miss the playoffs to make this a real possibility, which obviously would, include a loss to Auburn to end the year. And I'm sure the reaction down there in Tuscaloosa wouldn't be great. He's been the top target since early on. I know that they have a lot of respect for him and what he has done in his career, and he's someone that they think will be an excellent coach here at Penn State. Now, I definitely do agree with that last part there. I do think he would probably be a pretty good fit at Penn State, but a couple of things on that. First thing, to me, that sounded very opinionated there. Maybe he might be a, top option for them, but to me, it's kind of, at this point, if you're Penn State, your season's over. You're just trying to figure out talking points right now if you're, part of the Penn State media. And to me, it seems like you're throwing a tennis ball at a brick wall and hoping it sticks. Look, would people be mad if Alabama lost to Auburn? Yeah, of course they would be. And, I'm sure there would be some people calling for Kalen DeBoer to be fired if he ended up losing to Auburn. But the reality is that's just not going to happen. And I also think, with Nick Saban being the greatest college football coach of all time, it takes a special person to want to take on the challenge of being Alabama's head coach after Nick Saban. And I've seen some people saying, my question was, why would Kalen DeBoer want to go to Penn State, instead of being the head coach at Alabama? To me, Penn State's definitely a top probably 10 job in college football, but it's not Alabama. I mean, you got Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. Those are like the top, maybe Notre Dame there as well. Those are like the top jobs in college football. I don't know why you would want to leave Alabama to go to Penn State. To me, a lot of that sounded opinionated. Now, you could look at Penn State's schedule in the Big Ten and think, oh, maybe that's why Kalen DeBoer would want to go to Penn State. But to me, if you have the mentality to take the Alabama head coaching job after Nick Saban, I don't think that's really the mindset that Kalen DeBoer really has. I think he, wants to take on these types of challenges here. And to me, it would just make absolutely no sense, after 2 seasons, whether or not you make the college football playoffs or not, for Kalen DeBoer to just jump ship yet again and go to Penn State. And yesterday, Chris Lowe was on Greg McElroy and Cole Kubelik's podcast. This is what he said. They pressed him and asked him about this report about Kalen DeBoer possibly talking to Penn State. Said, I talked to somebody close to Kalen DeBoer last night, and they said no. I know there were a couple of reports yesterday that, he was right right at the top of their list, or somebody that they have been considering from the onset or from the outset. Somebody that I talked to who was close to Kalen said that was not accurate. But you know what? Things change. You guys know that the college football carousel, there's a lot of fluidity to it, but my information last night, I talked to somebody close to him that's just not going to happen. And, coming from Chris Lowe right there, I would assume that he's pretty much, right on it when it comes to reports around Alabama. So I wouldn't be too worried about Kalen DeBoer, if you are even worried about Kalen DeBoer going to Penn State, even if Alabama ends up missing the college football playoffs here. So I want to hear from you guys down inside the comments at the pinned comment of today's video. Then we'll get into some more takeaways from this game today. Will Kalen DeBoer be at Alabama next season? Let me know what you guys think. Type Y for yes or N for no. This also includes Alabama missing the college football playoffs if that happens as well. So let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. All right, let's get into some instant reaction from this game today. Man, the defense was just absolutely lights out against Eastern Illinois today. There was a point in this game where Eastern Illinois had like 10 total yards in this game. They ended up finishing the game, you can see the total stats right here, with just 34 yards. Alabama's defense was absolutely incredible. Had a couple turnovers in this game as well. Deshaun Lee had his second interception of the season, and they were just living in the backfield. You ended up finishing the game with 9 tackles for loss. You had 3 sacks in this game. Bray Hubbard was just all over the football field, and a lot of young guys as well were able to play in this game. You saw Luke Metz. He was your second leading tackler today. You saw Ivan Taylor in there, another true freshman. Tim Keenan ended up forcing a fumble at the beginning of the game. Alabama obviously didn't come away with recovering that fumble, but man, just overall, this defense was absolutely lights out today. And, shout out Kane Womack, man. Past couple of games, he's been doing a really, really good job calling this, defense for the Crimson Tide. Yet again today, they didn't give up a single point versus Eastern Illinois. Next week, we'll see what happens against Auburn. But right now, this defense is playing lights out. All right, we'll come back here in just a second with some more takeaways from this Alabama versus Eastern Illinois game. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks, and the weather might be changing right now, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, by the way, the only app that offers stacks, meaning that you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more than on Josh Allen passing yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Well, now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. This is what producer Aiden put together for our little 3-pick power play for the professional football slate of games this weekend, going with Drake May more than on passing yards against a very, very bad Cincinnati Bengals defense. Caleb Williams going with a more than on rush yards for him. And then Rashid Rice just needs more than a half touchdown. Could be rushing or receiving, as long as he doesn't have a passing touchdown in that game and he ends up coming away with one. That is a pretty good lineup, if I do say so myself. By the way, Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts like we do here at the Alabama Football Report, go for the power play. But no matter how you play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. When you play your first $5 lineup, that's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That link's going to be down in the comments section and the description of today's video. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, takeaway number 2 from this game today. Ty Simpson throws 2 more interceptions. Now, the one right before halftime, I don't really count that. He was, it's basically an interception on a Hail Mary there. There was 1 second left in the half and just tried to, throw it up to Isaiah Horton to try to make a play on the ball. I don't really count him, for that one there. But the other one, the one across the middle, linebacker, makes a pretty good play on the ball. But still, man, this is now like 6 games in a row or something like that where Ty Simpson has had a turnover. He had 5 games before this where he ends up fumbling the ball. And, like I said, I'm not going to count that one interception, but the first one was on Ty Simpson. So, still continuing to struggle a little bit, taking care of the football overall, still doing a better job than, Jalen Milroe did last year. But at the end of the day, that's not what we're looking for. This was a guy that was, up there, top 2 in the Heisman race. And as of right now, I think Ty Simpson is pretty much all but dropped out of the Heisman race right now. I'm not going to say he had an absolutely terrible day today. I'm not going to, sit here and say you got to bench Ty Simpson. But yet again, had 2 more interceptions in this game today. So I want to hear from you guys as we get, into the Iron Bowl now. Auburn's got a pretty good defense. There's a chance to go to the SEC championship game, and then you've got some good competition if you're able to end up making it into the college football playoffs this year. So what is your confidence level right now in Ty Simpson? Let me know what you guys think. Be honest with me down in the comments section. Scale it for me 1 to 10. 1, you have no confidence in him at all. You want him benched for either Keelon, Russell, or Austin Mack. 10, you still think he's going to win the Heisman, but I don't really think that's going to happen at this point. But let me know what you guys think. Be honest with me down in the comments section. All right, takeaway number 3. Connor Talty missed just yet another field goal today. I think it was 28 yards for him. Missed that one right at halftime last week against Oklahoma, which, did end up kind of being the reason why you lost. Obviously, the turnovers and stuff like that were kind of a reason there, too. You even saw Kalen DeBoer throw in another kicker in there today. I just, we could have done this confidence level on Connor Talty right now. I think it would be pretty low as well. I put him personally in my transfer portal candidates list the other day because I think Alabama has to go out in the transfer portal this, January and get a, better kicker because Connor Talty right now, I think he is, 11 for 18 or something like that on field goals so far this year. And he used to be pretty money inside 40. At this point right now, he's missed 2 that were pretty much chip shot field goals. And my confidence level, man, once you get into these bigger games and you're going to have to rely on a field goal kicker, my confidence level in Connor Talty right now is pretty dang low. All right, takeaway number 4. The backup quarterbacks looked pretty dang good today. There were some questions. We asked you guys in the, preview for this game today, who was going to be quarterback 2? It ended up being Austin Mack. That didn't really surprise me at all. I assumed it was going to be Austin Mack. A lot of Alabama fans, we have a little bit of an issue sometimes with kind of overlooking who is actually next because the next guy is a 5-star guy coming in with a lot of hype. But man, Austin Mack today was really damn good. He was really confident, I thought. He was able to control the pocket, really poised out there, leading that Alabama offense. Yeah, it was the second team, but man, he looked really dang good. 5 for 5, 45 yards, was able to, take advantage of a free play, throw towards the end zone, ended up getting a pass interference call that got Alabama down to the 20. And, the very next play, scampers for a 20-yard rushing touchdown. Really good vision on that play as well. That's not to discredit anything Keelon Russell did either. I thought he looked really good, but still, he looked like a freshman out there. That was it. Yeah, was going out there with the 3rd, 4th team and, getting those freshman reps. He was 7 for 9 today. Tried to fit a, pass in there for a touchdown to Cole Adams down there in the red zone. And he had Dre Washington kind of out in the flat. If he would have hit him, would have been one-on-one with the cornerback there. And I would assume Dre Washington probably would have been able to beat him, to the pylon there. But, good stuff overall, I thought, from both of these backup quarterbacks here for Alabama. The future is bright. Whether it's Keelon Russell, whether it's Austin Mack, got a lot of confidence in both of these guys here in the future. So after today's game, you've seen both of these guys, against ULM, and now you've seen them here against Eastern Illinois. Who's quarterback 2 right now? Let me know what you guys think. I still personally think it's Austin Mack, but maybe you're still riding the Keelon Russell train right now. So AM down in the comments for Austin Mack or KR for Keelon Russell.